Welcome, everybody, to the Tiggy Maximus Talks, episode 172 on YouTube. Um, Thank you guys for listening to the podcast, following, subscribing, um, also donating to the podcast. And for those who haven't already, or if you feel like doing it again, um, there's a link on the YouTube episode where you can actually be taken to your Spotify. And on my Spotify episode, you can actually um, click on the link and it'll take you to a spot where you can actually donate towards the podcast. And anything is appreciated. So thank you for that. Um, so on this episode, I promised myself I would do this because, I'm getting a little, having all these reviews of comics and comedy shows. I just want to start talking about it before I forget. Um, I did go to a show. Um, it was out in the Imperial Steakhouse. You know, it's a great venue. Um, there's an Imperial Steakhouse that's kind of like out on, I think, University Avenue. I think you're getting close to North Park, actually. And place has some great food. Um, I believe I tried out their burger. The burger is pretty tasty, actually, and I also had the pizza rolls. Let's see, the burger itself, I would say the steak quality was pretty tasty. I would say the burger itself was probably an 8.75. The pizza rolls were not too bad. I would say they're about 8.25 out of 10. Um, if I were to order something again when I return to that show, that venue, I probably would reorder the steak bites. Those are always a winner. Can't go wrong with that because you have steak bites that's on top of like mashed potatoes, which you can't lose. Um, but if you just do the burger is a must-have. Um, Nothing really bad about it, honestly. I just kind of wish it was kind of bigger, actually, honestly. um, and then the show itself. Uh, Interesting. Carla started off the show. It's her show. She did bring in some talent from LA, so that's pretty awesome. She has her connections. Um, Carla did start off the show. She had quite a few jokes. I think she was up there for at least maybe 10 minutes or so before she started introducing us to the other comics. Um, she did kind of start just a little slow with the crowd, but it picked up a little bit in the second half of her comedy. Um, I felt that there were some that the crowd that was there, it was they laughed at certain things during her set. Um, and by the way, it was actually technically a packed crowd. Actually, I almost did not find a seat. I found a seat by the bar at the last minute. Otherwise, I would have been standing for the whole thing. But um, I would say Carla's comedy was 8 out of 10. She had some good stuff talking about family. Um, and then she brought up Jessica Rosas. Um, I would like to mention during this time, during her Jessica's set, there was this loud Latina woman with her dog. She was being loud in Spanish and loud in English, if you can imagine that. and you hear that in the background during the first like 20 minutes of the show, and then the comics later on address that and want to give Karla a lot of credit for toughing it out with this loud woman, and then eventually somebody or she eventually left the bar or the Imperial Steakhouse, so the rest of us can enjoy the show. Um, so I remember Jessica Rosas was being pretty funny actually, yeah, during the time that she was up there. Um, I think she talked about stuff in her life, some dating probably. Um, and then there was a point where Jessica Rosas actually had to talk to the lady who was being loud with her dog, and it was kind of an awkward crowd work interaction. But Jessica Rosas, being a professional she is, just worked through it, went and completed her set, and I would say she was about an 8.5 out of 10 for the crowd that was there. Um, Next, we have a Randy Villarba, a local comedian here in San Diego, big Golden Knights fan, who, by the way, just got eliminated from the playoffs, as my LA Kings did, so neither of our teams is going to make it. Um, which means I think the Stars are going to be playing the Avalanche, and the Oilers are going to play against the Canucks. So, um, uh, and then, oh yeah, Bruins are going to be playing against the uh, Bruins are playing against the uh, huh. I mean, it would probably make sense that they're playing the Panthers, right? And on the other side, the Rangers be playing against the Hurricanes. But I might have to double check that. um, Anywho, um, Randy Valebra, he was trying out some material, seeing the vibe of the crowd. It did get a little cringy, and some parts were very funny in a very cringe-like state. But um, I think the crowd was starting to kind of pull back and become a little more chill during the rest of his set. So I would say, Randy was probably 7.8 out of 10. Um, he did have some jokes about Texas and um, stuff about investments and follow the money. And apparently, there's some mention of building a dry cleaner business in Texas or in the South because they're going to need to have a lot of hangers. So, uh, abortion joke. Um, sometimes those can go pretty well. Sometimes it won't hit. Um, Next we have Ash Meta. Ash Meta. Um, Guy had some kind of intensity with his comedy set. Um, I think I might have answered the question since um, I'm trying to remember. I think Ash had asked either Ash or the headliner Carlos had asked me and one other person in the crowd. I think it was the old man. If we have an orgasm noise, I guess. uh, yeah, it was an interesting crowd work thing. Um, that might be more of a Carlos thing actually. So let's just not say it's from Ash. um, but I think Ash had some moments in this set that people could laugh a lot, but then like it got to a point where crowd really did kind of pull back on Ash, and then I think at one point Ash actually had asked the crowd, "Should we go dark?" But then he went dark, but then the old man who was sitting close to me had said, "Yeah, I want you to go to dark, but it has to be funny." So um, that was pretty interesting though. Ash, I think, was kind of he was um, probably an 8.1 out of 10. And then we got our headliner, Carlos Escobar. First time seeing the guy as was Ash and Jessica. Um, I remembered Carlos had asked. Actually, I think he asked me about me being a Chargers fan, but then it became that whole thing about Chargers leaving town. How do we feel about it? And then I think I think it was Carlos who had asked myself and the old man who said he wanted deep jokes about that, deep jokes that were funny. Um, if both of us had a noise we make if if we had an orgasm or something, and I guess I made a noise. Um, so that was pretty interesting. A little peculiar crowd work, but you know, anything for the sake of comedy. Carlos has some good jokes. Some didn't have that much laughter, despite it being like a very it's a packed house. But again, I don't know if you guys remember what I said last time about the Imperial Steakhouse, but the only seating is actually along the wall. There's actually no like seating in the middle of the floor, which is almost perfect for maybe just a little bit dancing, but it does give a lot of room for comics to kind of walk around. So, so even for this crowd, um, you know, uh, Carlos did well for maybe just barely half of his set that he was up there. And the other half, I think it was just kind of like building, so there wasn't a lot of laughter in the build up. But um, I mean, I like Carlos. I think Carlos was probably an 8.3 out of 10 for his comedy. Um, and you know, after all that, I got to talk to Carlos, got to talk to Ash a little bit of talking to Randy. I didn't get to say much to Jessica. I did talk to Carla for a little bit. Um, I did see Ashley Amber, but I also ran into Roman Machaca. Um, but other than that, decent show. I would say try the food. Steak is good quality actually, no matter what you put it in. Um, I think the cheapest like steak is like 25-30 bucks or something. So you could probably order that and still have it in the bar portion of the Imperial Steakhouse where the comedy show is. So other than that, if you just want the bar food, then there are some good choices with beef in it. So um, otherwise, overall, great show. I would probably go back again. I just need to research when it is and who's on it. Um, Next show I went to was Privateer. It was at Privateer in Oceanside. Those are always on Tuesday nights. Um, Uh, Heather Marie runs that show. She got to um, she brought on Matt Balaker, and Matt Balaker, I guess, booked a woman named Jenna Perry. Um, so it's kind of interesting seeing some new comics. Heather, I don't think I heard her say any jokes when I got there, so I was just a tad bit late. So I'm not going to talk about Heather's comedy, but great hosting duties. She did bring up Jenna Perry. Jenna Perry did talk about being married. I think she talked about being a teacher, and she had some good jokes. Crowd, that was a packed house again. Also, I almost found no seat, but then Chelsea, the waitress, did find me a seat at the bar. So cool of her. I actually got to try the pizza there for the first time. It had fennel sausage and pepperoni. It was actually pretty good. I would say it's about 8.6, 8.6 out of 10. I would recommend any of their pizzas actually. Um, so after Heather went up and did told her jokes, this was when I was trying to find parking. I finally found parking and I walked in during Jenna's set. And so Jenna was having some good laughs with the crowd, talking about teaching and her husband. Uh, Overall, great set. Um, I do feel the crowd was laughing a lot at the stuff she was saying. So I would say Jenna Perry was probably an 8.6, 8.6 out of 10. So then we got our headliner, Matt Balaker. I think he invited me to his podcast, which is pretty cool. Maybe I um, might accept his invitation. So, um, I mean, what could I say? I guess I'll just say whatever's on my mind. Um, but yeah. Um, Matt Balaker did talk about, um, I think Carlsbad, community colleges, um, uh, and I guess, you know, it became kind of funny talking about like education and stuff. And um, honestly, Matt wasn't too bad up there. I think the crowd liked him for most of his set. And then there's some parts, he got some laughs, but not a lot of laughs. But I would say he got laughs throughout most of his stuff. And I would say Matt was probably a let's say 8.7, 8.7 out of 10. So um, overall, it was kind of great talking to both Heather, Jenna, and Matt. Matt actually had his brother with him. His name is Greg, actually. So it was kind of cool again to talk to some of these people. Um, yeah, just kind of have a conversation with them, what's going on, tell them about the podcast, why I like comedy, why I go. Um, and so, uh, good times though, honestly. Honestly, I might go back to Heather's thing again on Tuesday night. I think she told me that Brian Banks is going to be headlining, so I might go to that. Um, so yeah, those are fun times and more comedy shows to review. Um, for this one, I guess this is gonna be, um, I guess either I guess I could split this into two parts, or I can just make this one episode. On my next episode, or the next half of this episode, I will be talking about the roast battle at the Comedy Store in La Jolla. Also, um, I think it was a improv show by the Mockingbird Improv at the Amzamu Theater with Belle um, Fulton and Paula Diaz and host Alex Petit. Um, but yeah, I'll talk about that next time. Um, so hopefully you guys like these episodes up to this point. Hopefully you get inspired to go watch some of these comics at a town near you. So, well, that's it for me, guys, in episode 172. I'll talk to you guys later. And you know the saying goes, boom. Tiggy Maximus signing off. Baby. All right, there, guys.